When you're in the car with a complete stranger, you know you're probably never going to see them again, and then you just open up. Within like 15 minutes, she was telling me about like her suicide attempt. There's the moments where you have an opportunity that's given to you, and you have to just act on it. So we got the White House chef to literally come to Compton, cook for a family of 10 with us.
You're literally on a trip across America. When things get difficult, you are in a car park, or you don't know where you're going to sleep.
I know that we're going to get a yes eventually. Like, I know that 100%. Like, it's going to happen. Somebody's going to say yes.
Brad.
Beck.
What makes you a spicy bit of meat?
What makes me a spicy bit of meat? I love that. I don't know. I'm a guy. I like connecting with people. I make documentary, social experiment videos where I go out into the world and try to connect with strangers in weird and interesting, unique ways. Just try to basically explore human connection, how to bring it back into my life, and hopefully bring it back into the world.
How long is a reasonable time frame for you to have one of your friends or family's possessions before it becomes yours? So if I lend you my t-shirt and you have it, what's a reasonable amount of time before it's yours?
I feel like, in a way, if you, after a couple months, if you just don't ask me, then it's it's almost mine until you ask me for it back. But I feel like at the same time, I should probably just give it back.
It should be back. Because if it's out of their life, if they've disconnected from the item, they're not asking, they're not inquiring, so they're not missing it. I've found a home for it. I'm loving it.
Do you not feel a little guilty though? In your head, are you not like, this is never mine?
Brad, if you let me your t-shirt, I would happily wear it in front of you. That's how much I don't
And that's the test, because you're like, if he recognizes it, if he doesn't recognize it, and he's like, and I'm like, wow, that's a nice shirt you got there.
Wait a minute,
wow.
Where is that from? Well, for me, it's a month. I always had growing up, it was a month. So I have a large collection of my friend's socks. Because, socks is a thing that I've had to borrow in the past. Don't ask me why, for many reasons. Not always to wear on my feet.
Speaking of socks, I wish you weren't wearing skinny jeans.
Well, they're kind of like a whatever you call this thing.
They stretch?
Yeah, they're stretchy.
Can we see Jaren?
Oh, yeah.
As Brad pulls up his calf in a sensual way, you will be able to see the face.
Oh, and look at those calves too.
Beautiful.
See,
So do you want to explain who that beautiful face is?
This is a man named Jaren. He's a complete stranger, and I asked him to get my face tattooed on his body, and I would get his face tattooed on mine. And we swapped faces and got each other's face tattooed.
How do you explain that to people who say, oh, cool tattoo? Who is that?
Is that your brother or your long-lost wife?
I usually just say, yeah, it's just a stranger. And then they're like, huh? What? And then I just go through the story and tell them,
You must have had to tell that story quite a few times.
I mean, not as much as you would think. I feel like they look at my calves and they're just so skinny that it's just uncomfortable to look at. So they just don't really look down there too often.
Let's not even discuss it.
Yeah.
If you're doing standing calf raises and someone saw you, 100% we're looking at that tattoo and we're going, who's that? Is that your inspiration?
He is now.
He is.
Yeah.
It definitely was a meaningful story. I wouldn't say it's a random tattoo that...
No, yeah.
No, but the where it comes from is not, but then it turns into something quite meaningful, which is what you do, right? You're turning something that might not be meaningful in people's lives. So sorry, go on with that, because I didn't want to offend by saying I didn't think it was meaningful tattoo. Of course it's meaningful.
I mean, I was offended, but you saved it. Yeah.
Sorry.
Thank you for saving that in a very gracious and timely manner. How did you come up with that idea?
I don't know. Honestly, I think in the nature of YouTube, you're always trying to think of ideas. And I also I like to see what's possible with the human experience. And I just come up with random ideas like that. And I had seen people get matching tattoos with strangers and stuff before. It's not really a unique idea, but I was like, what would make this even harder? And what would be just super, super unique? And I was like, would a stranger, a complete stranger, get my literal face tattooed on their body, and I get theirs tattooed on mine? But could we actually make a friendship out of it?
Are you guys still in contact?
I mean, that I have not been the best at keeping in contact with a lot of people, because I feel like I've just been so on the go over the past year or two. But we talked a little bit, like about a year ago. He was actually like helping me through a breakup, which was like really
Wow.
awesome. Like he was like he's a great dude. Saw him in Vancouver when I went back.
That's crazy, right? Like a random stranger you did this idea with, and you're kind of he's consoling you through some hardship. That's quite powerful stuff, right?
Yeah. That's very, very interesting dynamic that like it could go from a complete stranger to him just like I'm in like one of my deepest moments of just like sorrow, and he's like helping me through that.
Yeah, because I like watching your, a lot of your content online with hitchhiking, more specifically, where you're having like these like longer periods of time with strangers, and you are like, being quite vulnerable to each other. And in some instances, they'll share stuff like right out the gate.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah, it's crazy sometimes.
Yeah, like they're trusting in that. Like it's something, it's quite hard to share deep stuff. Is that kind of your goal, that you're like able to create these really meaningful, strong relationships from people that you could have just walked past on the street if you didn't say anything?
I don't know if it's necessarily the goal. I think the goal is to just let the connection be what it wants to be. Like if I'm always just trying to make everything super deep, it's like you don't want it to be like super deep all the time. Like I feel like you need like a good 80-20. Like 80% of it should be just like fun, playfulness, spontaneity, like just enjoying life and that connection with that person. And then like when it gets deep, it makes it a little bit more special. Like there was a girl when I did the hitchhiking trip across Canada, like she picked me up off the highway. I was hitchhiking, and like I think within like 15 minutes, she was telling me about like her suicide attempt and everything. And I was like, whoa, dang. But I don't know. I don't know if it's like if it's me and like what I bring to that connection, or if it's just like that scenario when you're in the car with a complete stranger, you're probably never going to see them again, and then you just open up. Although there's a weird dynamic in my head where it's like I have the camera there. Yeah. So it's like that is not, you don't really have that experience of like, oh, I'm literally never going to see this person again. Yeah. Because that moment is captured in time now on that camera. So I don't know what the answer is for that.
Do you think that it changes the relationship when the camera's there, as opposed to like, for instance, like for her, she's sharing some deep stuff. Like, did she know that like that she was being filmed there, and she was comfortable to share it with you?
Yeah, because I mean, when I start off like when I'm doing like the hitchhiking series, I'm just like, hey. Well, I mean, usually the camera's it's a decently big camera.
Yeah.
It's there, and I'm like moving it around. So it's like pretty obvious. Yeah. I try not to make it super like obvious. I'm not like putting it in their faces or anything.
Zooming
it's just
in and
kind of
out.
like on my hip, and then like I'm looking at them, they're looking at me. That's like my goal, is that like you feel that I'm here with you, and like our connection is the most like important thing, and the camera's just kind of like there capturing things. So I don't know. I think it definitely does have an impact, but like I have the same connections with them on and off camera. Like all the people that I connect with, like I went down to connect with in episode 5 of like the hitchhiking series, where we knocked on doors in Alabama, and we were like cooking people, or not cooking, we were asking to sleep at their house. Yeah. We met Wade. I went back down to visit him with Liam, and we went there for like Mardi Gras. Exact same person. Yeah. Like he's just the exact same dude.
Kind of reminds me of when we met
Jay.
We met Jay at the casino, and he told us about bull testicles. It's a delicacy in Oklahoma.
Okay.
They call it calf fries.
Oh yeah, calf fries.
Calf fries.
I've never had that.
Well,
I feel like I've had a testicle before. I feel like it was in Japan.
Yeah.
They're surprisingly wonderful. The trip around America, you were traveling on the kindness of strangers, and just some of the experiences that happened you just wouldn't believe would be true. Yeah. And you also can't plan it. No. So like in terms of being a creator, you can't write a script, you can't write a structure, you don't even know if you're going to be able to get to the next state. How crazy has that experience been, where you just decide, okay, I'm going to just get on the road and see what happens. And then you meet like the military, or you go on their courses and go on their bases, or get a $200 hotel paid for you out of nowhere.
Or a random stranger just gives me their truck.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Or the guy that just like opened up a can of beer in the middle of the drive.
Oh yeah. In the Canada one. Yeah. I was like, oh, okay, I guess this is, I don't know how many you've had before this, but I'm going to get out at the next stop.
So yeah, you're documenting all of these crazy things, but then there's also the other side of it where things don't go as planned.
Yeah.
How often does that happen?
Pretty much all the time. Yeah. Like there is no plan.
Yeah.
I think like when I was in film school, my teacher kind of drilled this into our head of like documentaries, you can plan maybe 10% of it, and the rest of the 90%, it all just is like what happens and you just react.
Yeah.
But you can't really plan for like the documentary, like real life stuff. Like you have an outline, you're like, okay, this is my goal. I'm going to try to get from point A to point B, point C, whatever. But like, okay, for example, the cooking episode that we just did, we went to Compton. We were knocking on doors in Compton, asking people to cook them dinner in their home. And we went and originally we were like, okay, I don't know if we should knock on doors here. This might be a little bit not safe. So we started off by like going to the church, and we went to like church in Compton, which was crazy. It was such a cool vibe.
Yeah.
They were all super, super friendly, but then like the social anxiety kind of hits. It's like I do this stuff, like the human connection stuff, but I'm not, like the whole point is I don't know what I'm doing, and I just want to bring more connection back into my life. So it's like after the service ends, we're like sitting around, everyone's like in the like hallway area or whatever, and we're just like, oh, like who do we ask? And then we end up like a lot of people start leaving, and then this guy like goes outside, and me and Liam go outside. We're like, oh man, like do you want to ask? Do I want to ask? Like I don't know if I want to do this right now. And then we end up talking to this one guy, ask him. By the time we're done talking to him, we go back in, everyone's gone, and we're like, oh, dang it! Like we missed the ball here, and like that was probably the best and safest opportunity we had
to do it.
And like there's the moments where you like you have an opportunity that's given to you, and you have to just like act on it. So then we were like forced to basically go and knock on doors.
Yeah.
So we go around, we knock on doors, end up finding this super awesome family of like 4 people. And so they weren't available until next Monday. So we asked on Sunday, they weren't available to next Monday. And our plan, it was like, okay, we got to cook on Sunday. So there's the first thing that like goes wrong, and we have to do next Sunday or next Monday. So I stayed in San Diego for a while, and I texted her in the middle of the week. I'm like, hey, just wanted to confirm, like, how many people are we cooking for? And she's like, oh, yeah, our family's 10 people. And I was like, oh, no. Because the whole thing is I'm not like a cook anyway. Like, I do like rice and like some sort of protein in the morning. Like I do a smoothie in the afternoon, and then I do like a steak and rice or eggs or whatever. Just the most basic food. And did I say rice for breakfast there?
Rice can be breakfast.
You have steak and rice for breakfast?
I have eggs and steak or eggs and chicken for breakfast.
And then you say eggs and rice for breakfast?
That's weird. Yeah. No. I was like, it sounded really weird in my head. I gotta fix that there. But so then we're like, okay, well, we need to find like another cook, because Liam, like he's a kind of similar as me, but he like can cook a little bit more.
Right.
And it's high stakes. I mean, like you need to be cooking steaks.
You feel the pressure that you're offering to cook, so they almost probably presume you are a good cook.
No, we make it pretty.
Oh, okay.
We make them aware at the beginning. Like we're not cooks. This is really more about the connection.
About
rice for breakfast.
It was funny because they were like, we were expecting like mac and cheese. But like we were like, okay, we need to find a cook to help us out, because 4 people we can make it work. Like we can cook some steaks and some sort of side, but like 10 people, I feel like that's a lot to cook for. So we were like calling up everyone that we could, just knowing like somebody in LA that we knew that potentially knew a cook or something.
I saw you reach out on Instagram and stuff. Yeah.
And like no idea where this is gonna go. We're just like grasping for straws at this point, just like for anything that could help us out. And then all of a sudden we connect with this guy who knew the White House chef, and he gives us the White House chef's number. We call him up, and like he had seen the videos or whatever, and he's like, yeah, I'm down. Like, let's do this. So we got the White House chef to literally come to Compton and cook for a family of 10 with us.
That's
like
wild.
Just a crazy experience that you could never plan for. That's obviously on the best case scenario where you can't plan for it. But then there's also like the other side of, on the hitchhiking trip, we originally wanted to do like a 30-day thing where we posted a video every single day for 30 days. Just try to experiment, like challenge ourselves to do something like that. And day 2 or 3, it was like very clear that wasn't going to happen. And I started getting so stressed. It's like this whole trip is like, do we have to restart? Do we have to go back to the beginning? Because like day 2, it was just, we were so in our heads of like what do we do? Like who do we ask? And like there wasn't really anything entertaining happening on day 2. And we spent probably like 6 hours just thinking. The one
Right.
day we got into Philadelphia and we're just like walking around, and there was a like a wedding that was happening. And they were like all taking pictures, like, should we go like ask the wedding? And then we
Yeah.
were like got too scared to ask them.
Yeah.
And then it's like, should we go into a restaurant maybe, and we could like ask people there? And then it was just like, it just felt weird to
Yeah.
go into a restaurant when you have no money, and we were just like overthinking everything. And I was like, we have to quit. We have to stop this. We just have to like give up and not do it. And then eventually we were just like, okay, we got to just restructure this. Think about it in a different way, accept where we're at right now.
Yeah.
Maybe tell that story a little bit. And we changed it to doing 5 episodes. So it was like, okay, if we have it in 5 episodes, this can just be a little piece in that first episode of the first 5 days or whatever.
Yeah.
So like it goes bad and you kind of just like readjust, if that makes sense. I don't know if
No, it does.
Yeah.
No, it does.
Yeah.
Well, because you were speaking earlier about, do you want to?
Yeah, I was in the car and I was just talking about how sometimes, in terms of my content, it's completely different, right? But I only dream of doing the things that you do, which is, but at the same time, I'm just somebody, I could potentially do it.
Yeah.
I just don't allow, or I haven't yet allowed myself to even think to do something like that. And when things get a little bit difficult, there's always like, oh, but I could just go home, or I could do it tomorrow, or I can figure something else. We'll pivot somewhere else. But you're literally on a trip across America. When things get difficult, you are in a car park, or you're like, you don't know where you're going to sleep.
Yeah.
But then you said you sat there for 6 hours and then said, okay, we need a restructure. So that's not giving up. That's just saying we need to figure this out.
Yeah.
I feel like I wouldn't even get to that point. I'd just be like, yeah, I'm done. How do you even break through that barrier?
Well, I feel like, okay, so there's, it was a bit easier having somebody like Liam be there with me. Like Liam was a huge homie, because I feel like this trip was a really interesting one because I was going through a breakup like right in the middle of it.
Oh, okay.
Like she like ended things right in the middle of the trip on like day 7.
Oh.
And I was depressed. Like I didn't even want to be like around anymore. I was just like, nothing was joyful. It was, well, not nothing was joyful. Like it was this weird dichotomy of like, I'm having these great experiences, and then all of a sudden it would hit me. I'd be like walking down the street, or like we'd be like at somebody's house, finally got the place, and I'm like lying in bed, and then all the dread would just like hit me.
Yeah.
It's just like back and forth of like emotions and stuff, and a lot of stress in my own mind. But like Liam really like kept me in there. And he's like, no, dude, we're doing this. Like we got this challenge. We're going across America. We have 30 days. Like we're doing this, dude. And he really, really kept me in there. But at the same time, like I did the Canada trip, and I did that on my own.
Yeah.
But it's like the idea of I'd moved back just after working for another YouTube channel in the States, and I was like, I don't want to live with my parents in Nova Scotia. I really want to move to Vancouver. So it was like, I'm going to Vancouver, and I wanted to go to Vancouver by doing this hitchhiking trip because I'd always wanted to do something like that. And it was mainly just kind of like, you just throw the bag over the fence and I have to go get it now.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I started the trip. I have no other place to go but go to Vancouver.
Yeah.
Like I have to finish this. And I don't know, there's definitely times where like I wanted to quit on the Canada one too, but I think you just like, you think you'd quit, but when you're actually in it, you might sit in like the shit for a while.
Yeah.
But eventually you're like, okay, I have to get up and keep going. Like I'm not like this like super inspiring, like, oh, I'm going to go do it. I'm not like disciplined or anything. I'm wearing the shirt now because I just got it because I was down in San Diego and Liam's working
Don't even know what it says.
But this is something I would like to strive to, like more discipline in my life. But yeah, dude, I struggle with that all the time. Like even the asking strangers to join them. Like there was days where I was like, I'm done. I can't do it anymore. And we would have like, we're going to come back to this tomorrow.
Yeah.
But like, I would just be so drained. And I was like, okay, we're going to do it for like 3 hours. And I was like, I need to go home and I just need to rest. Like my social meter is just dead.
But you said like you're not like any kind of inspiration or anything, but it is because like you're doing things that people just the concept, not even going and dealing with strangers or having to because that's like putting people way out of the comfort zone. But like people have to attack things every day motivationally, like just getting up, like going to work or doing the things they don't want to do. They're full of dread. There's something that's going on in their life, and they have to at some point just. I've got to do it.
Yeah.
Yours is almost heightened because if you don't do it, well, then where do you sleep?
Yeah.
Where do you eat? Like so do you feel like that was like the motivating factor for you was the fact that it's like, well, this is do or die kind of thing for me right now. Like I don't have the choice of not making it because I have this goal. And if I don't do something, I'm stuck out in the cold.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple elements to it of like, I know that we're going to get a yes eventually. Like I know that 100%. Like it's going to happen. Somebody's going to say yes. There might be a couple nights where like there isn't, but there's an interesting scenario. Like when we got the truck, basically somebody like gave us a free truck. I think you guys knew about that. That night we had done every night of the trip. We had found somebody to let us stay at their house up until the time that we had the truck. And that night we went out to continue to ask because we didn't want to like let the truck be a crutch for us. But we got to like 1 o'clock and we were like, you know what? Let's go sleep at the truck because we had that out. But every other night of the trip, we didn't have that out. And we just kept going until like in Nashville, we were asking until like 3 a.m. or something.
Yeah.
So it's like you just kept going until you eventually got the yes. But when you do give yourself that out, sometimes it's easy to just like take it.
Yeah.
But then the rest of the trip with the truck, we're like, no, we're asking people. We're not using the truck again.
You should be a sales coach. You was a sales consultant. You literally, you're just going for that yes. And you said like that's exactly what
it's
what
the
you're
first
doing.
step because some people wouldn't believe that you'd get a yes.
Yeah.
And so you knowing that in time, no matter how long it takes, there will be somebody and there will be a story out with that person is already the first step. And it's like once you get that win, it keeps you driven.
It's so like the feeling that I have in my body when I'm like in the asking part is like just dread. I'm like, I hate everything about this. But then as soon as you get the yes, it's like just you feel so good. Everything changes.
You've captured a couple of those moments, like especially like with the hitchhiking where you're like you've been there for hours, you're waiting, and then you've got someone, you're like, I've got it right. Like you can see the pure joy in you that you're like, I'm going to make it through.
Yeah.
But it's actually quite inspiring just hearing you say, I will get a yes. Yeah. Like a lot of people are so pessimistic about the things that are happening around them that they can't ever imagine getting the yes.
Yeah.
But you're saying, I know I'll get one. It's just when is it coming?
Yeah.
That's like such a positive mindset, glass half full type thing. Like it's kind of making me rewire how I think about like at the end of the day when shit gets tough there is going to be a yes. We just need to get there.
Yeah.
Like your win. You went through an injury, a very, very big injury, and it was a long time before you got that one win where he was cleared to finally get back into movement. So for many, many months he wasn't able to do anything. And it sparked something quite incredible with you. And you've just kind of hit the ground running with that.
Yeah, I think, like I can resonate a lot with that. Like get that win and that will set you on and it almost will fuel you for the next one.
Yeah.
Because you're almost like, you're just stuck.
Yeah.
You get that win and that's all you kind of needed. Just that little positive moment that'll spark you to be like, I can do this. I can get through this.
You just have to like always be moving, I feel like. And that's like an easy thing to say that I don't fully like follow myself. Like there's a lot of times where like I'm frozen, I'm stuck. I'm like I don't want to move. I need to analyze everything before I take my next step. But it's like if I'm here in this room, for example, as an analogy, it's like, okay, I see all these things. But then if I start moving and I go through that door, there's a whole new perspective of stuff that's coming in and like new opportunities. And if I'm just stuck in the same place, you're never going to find those new opportunities. And it's like, okay, well, clearly with all this stuff here, nothing's happening. But if I'm just going to continue to analyze all the things that nothing's working with, then like I'm just going to be stuck with nothing ever happening. But if I take a move, if I take a step, I unlock another perspective, new opportunities, new new things.
Interesting to say that because like I noticed one of the episodes and when you were hitchhiking, it might have been through Canada, where you decided to walk up the road because you realized there was a roundabout there and everyone was going in different directions. So you were like, I need to go in the direction that I'm going into.
Yeah.
So you walked up a little bit and then it completely changed the game for you. Like you got what you needed.
Yeah.
Which is like, that in itself is an interesting perspective. It's like, just keep moving, figure out there's a new path. Where is it? I just need to find it.
Yeah.
That's good.
Do you have much routine in your life?
That's something that I really need to establish. Yeah. That's
Do you crave that?
I don't know if I crave it, but like I know I need it.
Do you crave that?
Yeah. Kind of weird.
What I meant is like, for me, I crave the adventure because I have so much routine in my life.
Do you crave journaling? Do you crave the
routine
schedule?
isn't journaling.
Do you crave sitting down with your calendar?
Google Calendar.
Google Calendar gets you off, doesn't it?
Okay,
Never. Oh yeah, I love scratching off those dates. No, I maybe crave. Yeah, I know I need it. I know I need it for sure. Because I feel like I'm definitely not the most efficient with what I do. Like I am like lost in my head. I'm always thinking, always analyzing, always like in like I feel like I'm very much in a stressful state all the time. Yeah. And it's probably because like I don't have any real routines. Like I don't really take care of my body, and I feel like I need to like start working out, like have a routine of like me working out, eating healthy, like taking some time to Leon, he just posted that video with that guy. I can't remember what his name is, but he was talking about when you're taking like breaks and you're resting. It's like when I take a break, I'm usually just thinking about something or doing something. I'm like scrolling on social media. It's like your brain never has time to like reset. It's like a snow globe, he was saying, like his analogy was. It's like you're just like shaking everything up and you're never giving it time to like rest. And I feel like that's my state all the time. So I really need to bring in routine where I work out, and then that gives me energy to go throughout the day and tackle it.
I mean, even being like, you said you're constantly moving and that's always opening up more opportunity.
Well, I'm not always constantly moving, but that's if you want opportunities to come, you have to constantly move.
So that in that light, that's a very positive thing. Have you stayed in Austin quite a long time now? I feel like yours.
It's been like a year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah.
The relationships that I or you establish here, they're like more than just an experience, or of course we meet for the first time and that's the experience, but it's not for the channel or for a video. Not that it's for the channel. What's the difference between meeting someone like Leon and somebody in Mexico when you knock on their door?
Well, I mean, it's like, I'll explain it in this way. Do you know the 150 relationships theory?
No.
It's like, it's called something else, but it's like, you can only really have 150 relationships in your life at any given moment. And the people in that area of 150 kind of go in and out as you go through life. And there's a couple different categories. There's like your inner core, which is like your 10 to 15, let's say. I'm not going to get this fully accurate, but it'll work. Your 10 to 15, this is like your best friends, your family, you guys, like you're in a relationship. So it's like you're in the inner core. And then outside of that is like the middle core. And these are like the people you see pretty often. Like they're really good friends with you, but you don't see them like all the time. You're not like super, super close. Like you don't tell them like your deepest, darkest secrets. And then outside of that is like your 50 to 150. And this is people that like, I don't know, old friends back home that you still kind of stay in touch with, maybe like coworkers or people that you see. Like, I don't know, I go to church on Sundays with a group of the friends that we all have. Yeah. And there's a couple people there that like I see every Sunday, but I'm not like super good friends with them. Right. But I see them and we talk. So they're kind of like in that outer core. And then outside of that is your everyday just interaction with strangers. That's where most of our interactions come from. I feel like it's just like with like strangers. And then the most time that you spend is with that inner core. Most of the interactions for the videos tend to be outside of the main core. And then sometimes they can break in. But like any first interaction is a stranger one. And then from that point on, it's like, okay, how did I feel with this connection? Did we have like a really deep connection or something? Or did I enjoy their presence? It was a lot of fun or whatever it is. Then they make it into the 150, right? And then the more time you spend with them, okay, now they move to the middle core. And it just takes consistency. It takes just the depth of the connection and all that kind of stuff to go from.
You had cream cheese on your beard earlier.
Yeah.
I wiped it with my hand without your consent.
Yeah.
You
Have
just
I
moved into the
broken
core.
into the inner core, or
Yeah.
have you pushed me out?
I mean, I still got to think about that. I'm kind of like, I'm on the fence right now.
You are. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if I liked it or
Got
if I.
more to do.
Yeah, it was uncomfortable.
'Cause I almost wanted you to say yes, and I know who you swapped with. Like that's what I was hoping.
Oh, who
yeah,
did
yeah.
you
Was
kick
like,
out of
you
the
get
who
150?
wouldn't have white
Yeah.
cream cheese? That's a good question. Because
Yeah.
then that's a perspective I got to
Right?
think about.
That's what I thought.
If I have a friend in my inner core who wouldn't have done that, I got to get them out of there.
Gotta get
I got to
them out.
replace
Yeah.
them with
like
somebody
they would have
who
been like, no, it's there. But I
Yeah.
was like, I'm just gonna do it.
yeah.
So I
Kind
don't
of
want you to
grasped
have.
really just the entire beard and just
Yeah.
I'm
stroked
still
it
like
down.
it's here. It's
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, like, but that whole kind of like perception of like inner core, outer core, because like you don't think about it until you've just said that, and
Yeah.
now you start to
makes
think,
sense, yeah.
oh, I know what my core is, I know my inner, outer, but then all our interactions are with the outer core, and it's like moving them in,
Yeah.
and you're almost like broadening the chance of like building your inner core to be larger than what the scientists say.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, you can't really have the inner core be bigger because you
Fine.
can only handle a certain amount of relationships. There's only so much that, like,
From what perspective? Like from like it's just too much to handle, or
Yeah,
you just
yeah.
don't have the time in the day?
you don't have the
or-
time. It's just
Yeah.
too much to handle on like an emotional level. Where you're like, okay,
Yeah.
I've given this much. It's just you can
Yeah.
only handle a certain amount in each
Interesting.
core.
I guess, how much time do you spend with your inner core right now?
Right now, not enough. Not enough that I would like. I feel like I'm just very stressed with like work and like
Yeah.
I run the channel all on my own,
Yeah.
and I'm doing like all the producing, the shooting, the editing, the planning, the like all of it. And I feel like it takes up just like all of my time, and I'm not really nourishing the relationships because it takes effort to nourish these
Exactly, yeah.
relationships. Like to get into the inner core of somebody is a privilege to be in that place. And it takes, effort to be in there.
I feel like we've gone through that as well.
Yeah, you
Like
start
last
to-
year, especially with you, last year was just all about thinking about work and keeping your head over water. But it's just like,
Yeah, ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
You start to and you have these like kind of big events that might change your perspective of the inner core and be like, oh, I need to put more time into that. Would you deem yourself as an introvert or an extrovert?
I think both. Like I don't think I genuinely don't. I think people over-identify with the introvert,
Yeah.
extrovert.
Right.
I think it's all nonsense, to be honest. I think it's like a scale, and depending on like what experiences you've had in life and trauma and like whatever, it's like you lie on the scale in a certain spot, but that's just where you are currently.
Yeah.
There's introverted people, but then all of a sudden they're in a space where they are surrounded by people who like the thing that they like. All of a sudden they're extroverted. And then at the same time, it's like, okay, well, you might be here, and then all of a sudden you go through a lot of growth, and now you're like a lot more extroverted. You're more comfortable in yourself, and you're like, dang, I feel good.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody's just like,
Yeah.
I'm an introvert. And if you're saying like I'm an introvert, or like, I don't know, I think that's just an excuse to keep you where you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's an interesting perspective.
Mm.
Okay, so pivoting from this, you've hitchhiked from many different places.
Mhm.
Who is more dangerous? Is it the hitchhiker that you're about to pick up that you don't know who they are and they're just on there just, doing something that we don't do anymore? Or the person that's stopping their day out of nowhere to pick up this random stranger, jump on in, let's go. Who do you actually think is more at risk?
I think the people picking up versus the hitchhiker.
That makes sense, yeah, because they have more control. They've got the car.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Especially like nowadays too, like the culture of hitchhiking has changed a lot. Before it was just like, I need a ride. Like I'm just going to go hitchhiking.
Yeah.
It's like this fun, playful thing to do. And now like really most of the people who are hitchhiking like tend to be like They don't have a lot.
Yeah.
Unpredictable.
Yeah.
When people would pick up, or you go to pick up somebody, you don't just let them in the car right away. Like, you talk to them, you ask a couple questions. Like, there was people like on the Canada one, I'm pretty sure that I was like, nope, like, I don't want to take this ride.
Yeah.
I'd be definitely wary of it as well. I don't know how open I'd be, but it's like watching your videos, even not hitchhiking, even asking to shower in somebody's house.
Yeah.
People were very questionable about it. I mean, it's a strange question to ask. Hey, can I come and shower in your house?
No, that's
they would
so
ask
true.
to see your ID. They'd be like, what are you going to be doing? Like, you know, just all of that stuff.
Or you had the lady say, "I've got 3 guard dogs, and I'm gonna put them on you if you don't leave my property."
Yeah. I mean, it's not unreasonable. It's really not. Like, there is a lot of bad that is happening in the world. Like, my channel kind of is like, the world is great and people are great and stuff. It's like, yes, that is a perspective that I want to show of the world, but there is a lot of bad that does happen. Like, there are murders, there are people who get robbed and stuff. Like, my ex, at the time when we were in Mexico, she got like jabbed with a screwdriver and they stole her phone. It's like, stuff happens. Like, it's not like, it's not out there.
Yeah.
And then we often see so many of these stories in the world. We don't really see as many of the positive stories. So it's like, there's a lot of fear built up, and that's real and that's reasonable. And life is unpredictable, and you do have to like be able to discern, like, okay, is this a safe situation or not? Like, I don't think you should just be like, anybody who knocks on your door, bring him in.
Bring him in.
No, that's like, that would be so stupid. But at the same time, you can tell like when somebody is, I mean, for the most part, like, there are some serial killers who are like really charming and
that's why when we figure
this out?
When we think of like hitchhiking, we're always like thinking directly about all the historical serial killers that have picked up hitchhikers, and you know, and so like, us coming to America, we were going into a cesspool of it because every crime documentary is based.
In Texas.
In Texas, essentially. So the whole kind of stereotype around the hitchhiking would be like, you'd be thinking that, you know, do you think that most people in your interactions are thinking from the side of, you're not good first? You have to, earn my trust. Then, as opposed to maybe when we were in the hitchhiking days where it's like, you're good first, prove me wrong. Now it's kind of flipped to, you're not good, prove me right, or prove me wrong as well.
Yeah, 100%. Like, this is just kind of how our culture is right now. There's a lot of this fear that's like the culture is kind of like surrounded by. And when there wasn't that environment, it was a lot easier to do this kind of stuff. But there was an interesting perspective of like when we were doing the trip across America. There was a bunch of people who kept bringing up like the Jeffrey Dahmer documentary had just come out, like right when we were doing the trip. So people kept being like, there's no shot. I just watched that Jeffrey Dahmer documentary. Like, good luck. I hope you find something, but not me.
Bad timing.
But then we also met a guy in New York on like our first night. And we're like, hey, man, like, can we stay at your house? And he's like, yeah, man, of course. Or actually, we had a sign. That was the part. We had a sign. We made it. We were walking for like 15 seconds, 20 seconds maybe. And this guy walks by and he's like, you guys need a place to stay?
No.
We're like, yeah.
Come on in.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then he's like, I got to go finish a photo shoot, but I'll come back in like an hour and just like meet me here. And we're like, okay. And then it's funny because we went around, we like started telling people and they're like, dude, like,
be careful.
Sleep in shifts.
Yeah.
And we're like, nah, it can't be that bad. Come on. Like, there's no way. Anyways, we went and stayed at his house, but we asked him the question of like, why did you say yes? And he was like, I don't know, like I've watched documentaries like this before. So he had a perspective that was different, a perspective of the world. That is how I started doing the same thing for my own channel. It's like, I saw documentaries like this. I saw documentaries like Craigslist Joe, where he survived solely off of Craigslist for 30 days. I saw like David Cho hitchhiking across the states. I saw like The Buried Life. I saw Yes Theory videos. I saw all these different things that gave me a different perspective of what the world is and could be. And I was like, okay, like, I like that. So I wasn't really focusing too much on the fear. I was like, I like all this stuff. And that's kind of just what I went after. But like the people who said no had the perspective of fear, and that's what they were watching and consuming. But then the other people who are like, oh, I like these documentaries. Even the girl in Compton, one of the daughters, after we got the yes, she ended up coming out after when we were walking out, and she was like, "Hey, like, I just think this is really cool. Like, I had seen stuff like this before online, and this is just like, I never thought like something like this would happen in my life, and I'm just really excited to like have you guys come over and like have an experience with you guys," because she had seen stuff like that before. But it's tough because there's a lot of evidence for a lot of negative stuff in the world too. But
both are real, and I really appreciate you showcasing that side of the world as well.
Have you ever been in a situation where you genuinely thought you were in danger and you had to abort or, pivot or, in any of your videos?
I mean, there hasn't been anything where there was like one in the, there's times where like fear came into my mind and I was like, oh man, I don't know if I should have gotten in this ride or something. But it ended up being like, oh no, they were like great guys. Like there was the one ride, the very first ride I got on the Canada trip. I got into this van and the entire thing was breaking down. Like every single check light on the car possible was on. It felt like it was going to fall apart, like literally mid-drive. I was just like, I'm going to die now. This is it. But
first
they
trip.
dropped me off. They're like...
So that was the fear? The check engine light was the fear?
Well, it was like your brain just starts to make up all these crazy stories of like, okay, the car, it's like, it's not really good. Maybe like, I don't know, you start to tell a story about who these people are.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they didn't speak English or anything. And they were like calling up like people on the ride. And I was like, is he calling up somebody to be like, yo, we got one? Like, I'm just like making up all these crazy stories in my head. And then they drop me off and they're like just adios
awesome.
Amigo, and they just like let me go, and I'm like, all right, sick.
Awesome guys.
Yeah,
because it's funny that you already had a kind of positive spin there, because you were thinking the worst was the check engine, when really you've just gone into a car with two people you've never met before in your life, which could be probably the most dangerous part about it. But you were like, this car's gonna break down. Like it was really
it started like that, and then it went
into
higher
and higher.
I think like you constantly make these things go. Worst case scenario is always playing on your head. I don't want to do this because this, and it's probably happening to you on the go. But you're constantly being you're realizing no, like good came from it, and all of these things that you were thinking never eventuated, which has kind of turned into a positive outlook for you on life.
Mm-hmm. The ride in the Canada one again, where this guy, I was like waiting for like 6 hours or something. It was like super hot. This guy pulls over. He's like, get in. You're in a bad spot. I was like, I mean, you are right. I am in a bad spot right now. But that was a bit like forward. And then he's like covered in tats. He's like this old dude. He's got another dude in the front seat. I was like, I really don't think I should get in this, but I'm hot. I'm tired, and because I'm in the middle of nowhere. Like this is in Northern Ontario, and there's nothing around.
Right.
So I was like, am I going to die here on the side of the road? I'm going to die in this car. Let's go. And I just got in, and he starts just like asking these weird questions. I can't really remember what he was asking, but then he tells me the story of like how he was hitchhiking when he was younger, and he got picked up by like a pedophile, and he like tried to like start touching him in the car and stuff, and he grabbed his nail file and he stabbed him in the neck. I'm like, bro, this is a lot to handle right now. And like, he's like, telling me all these stories. And then he like drops me off. He's like, yo, stay safe out there, man. And I'm like, I was like, holy shit, am I going to get like, where's the nail file? Looking around. Yeah.
But that's so interesting. He's just like sharing some pretty full-on things.
Yeah.
And putting you in this spot, but he didn't think that it was. He probably thought everything he was saying was like fair play.
Yeah. And I mean, for it kind of like, I don't know, we were talking about the stuff. Like I asked him like questions like, what was a crazy experience you had like hitchhiking and stuff? So like, I was kind of guiding it there anyway, but like, I think it's all how you take it.
You probably started to realize that from more people, where you could presume things immediately just by what they're wearing, or how they speak, or what they say. But then actually you kind of get into these deeper conversations and you realize you're not like, you don't like, you have similar problems in your life, or you have like you go through similar experiences. You've had way more positive interactions with people, probably also way more negative because you're putting yourself out there. But it gives you this like interesting perspective that you're always kind of looking for the good.
And like, I still have like the dichotomy of like, I have a lot of fear in those moments. I have a lot of judgment, and like there's things that like I don't know, like going to Compton, it's like there's part of me, it's like there's parts to me. It's like one part's like you're never gonna find a family in Compton. And the other part's like, no, yeah, you will find a family in Compton. I'm like, it's way too dangerous. It's like, they're never going to want two like white guys to come in and cook them dinner. But then like I get to surprise myself with a different story of reality in the world where it's like, no, I had a great experience with a family of 10 in Compton and I knocked on their door and it was amazing. It was awesome.
I mean, I think the fear is in everybody.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have to be a situation with like profiling a person. It could be profiling what might happen next week or like something that you're anticipating. You can profile it as the pedophile with the screwdriver, but you never know until you've actually gone through and experienced that. The fails or the rejections, you never feel them the way you think you're going to feel them as well.
One of the videos, the guy says something that's quite powerful. He was like, sometimes in life, like if you want to get anywhere, you just need a bit of audacity. And that like
awesome.
Stuck with me because that's like exactly the only difference between what you're doing and what someone, you know, maybe me, is you have the audacity to ask the question.
Yeah.
Right? That's
100%.
really all it is.
Yeah.
And it's kind of moved into this whole realm where you've met people, you've done things beyond your wildest dreams. You've made relationships closer from it, you know, long-lasting things you'll remember for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And all it was just the audacity to just ask the question.
Yeah. Like I'm literally just like anybody else. I think that's like the one principle that I want to have on the channel. It's like, don't like look up to me. Like just look at me and be like, I could do that too. I'm not special in any way. I just have like the, I guess, audacity or the curiosity to like try.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like anybody could do what I'm doing. It's not that crazy or unique or anything.
It is.
I asked Brad before this podcast to come up with a challenge to give to us, something that we can compete on. And you haven't even told us what it is. So it's a surprise.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of nervous.
I was trying to think of something that's like, that you can do like today. And
Yes.
okay, so the other thing too, with like the whole thing with Discover Connection, like a lot of this stuff is like pretty crazy stuff, but like what we're looking for is just connection in our life. I feel like everyone, we're looking for that community and that place that you can just call home. And it's not really about all these grand, extravagant experiences. It's like the place where I feel the most fulfilled is like having that core community, core of life where you're going to spend most of your time is like with your family and your kids and your best friends and in work and all this stuff. So it's like nourishing that element of your life, I think, is the most important. And then sprinkling in like some of these adventures and stuff.
Yeah.
So the simple things of just going out and asking a stranger to join them is like a very simplified version of like the extreme stuff that I do. That's a great way to just meet somebody new.
Yeah.
Like we went and asked this one guy to play chess. He was like working at like a paddleboard thing and ended up sitting there for like 2 hours talking to him.
Yeah.
And I went and grabbed a beer with him like a week or two after that. And it's just like a great experience.
Yeah.
All from just like asking somebody to join them.
Yeah.
And just showing like how easy it is to actually just make a connection with somebody new.
Right.
So that's kind of the idea I have for you guys to just go out and ask a stranger to join them in whatever they're doing and make a new connection.
So for us to join them.
Yeah.
In whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
I sit down and have a chat.
Yeah, you could sit down and have a chat. Maybe somebody's like playing a sports or fishing or whatever the weird things that they're doing. You just got to go join them.
I end up getting in the car with a stranger, never seeing me again. Like you will have that in you for the rest of your life. Yeah. So it's powerful, right? Like it's
I will be responsible for your demise.
I'm going to, yes. Exactly.
Maybe we'd have a better relationship after as well.
Yeah.
That would be crazy. I go off.
You saved me from him. Well, I've been trying to get rid of him for so long.
All I had to do was put him in a car. All right. Well, thank you for sitting with us for an hour. I guess it's time to go discover some connection. Where can we find you online?
Discover Connection on YouTube.
Discover Connection.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining the Spicy Bit of Meat channel.
I hope it was spicy enough.